Yes, indeed, it is a feel-good Friday right here at Morning Cafe. The dancing has already started.
Yes.
What you cielo?
Please, Fred,
Oy.
you're out of order. It's a Friday morning, let me rest.
Oh yes, we have a lot, too much fun. Yes, indeed, a feel-good Friday. This is a Morning Cafe. Karibu sana. My name is Freddy.
My name is Ann Odida. Feel good Friday. Nilikuwa naambia Fred at least siku moja tutengenezee watu wa patara. What do you think? At least, you know, this is something I can do. Stand where you have two left feet.
Unajua tuile hivi.
Zangarire. Thank you so much for choosing us. How hot is your coffee this morning?
All right, and these are the headlines this Friday. Hey, I'm telling you, you kama nisome ama niwache, umejionea. The Standard says a ridiculous Ruto. Inaitwa alliteration where you play with the RR. Ridiculous Ruto. That's the Standard.
Muturi Apapasa Mamba. Taifa leo.
What a Friday. Kenya's 5 billion shillings Haiti burden. That's the Daily Nation.
The Star State House and lodges repairs to eat up 8 billion Kenyan shillings.
They're still repairing those state houses and state lodges. Yeah. Yes. On the People Daily, backlash in Ruto trip. We'll be telling you more about the president's trip in Nairobi and what has happened.
And Business Daily, Congo link in central bank freeze of National Bank seal.
All right, so these are the local headlines this morning. And of course, being a Friday, we'll be having the youth perspective. This 5 gentlemen and 1 lady, 4 gentlemen, 1 lady, Fred Mukua, Dr. Derek Barasa, Miriam Katheu, Nick Mwangi, and Ken Babu will be in studio. So do stand by for that conversation starting at 6:30 this morning. Let's go regional now, and we start off in Kampala.
Daily Monitor, bloody ballot and brutal by-election. The Kawempe North by-election turned violent yesterday, with journalists beaten and arrested in broad daylight, painting a dark day for the industry that had gone to capture events. National Unity Platform's Aries Nalukola Luimbazi won the election with 17,764 votes.
Nice. This is the hardest fought by-election in Kampala ahead of the elections next year. And you saw Mudavadi Museveni. Museveni actually campaigning for his candidate who lost. So NUP party nile nitongaje jamaa musician Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine emerges victorious against Museveni's party NRM in the Kawempe by-election, Kawempe North. But for journalists, it turned bloody. And you see, I told you, the Daily Monitor is one of the neatest front pages you'll ever have.
Yeah.
Yes, just that.
That's the Daily Monitor.
All right. On the New Vision, the same story, chaos in Kawempe as NUP wins by-election, and the winner is there on the front page and pigwa picha pale. Journalists beaten, so the kama walitandikwa proper. Several arrested. UPDF regrets violence. Lakini walishindwa, ndio bana wanachapa watu. Other stories on the front page of this paper in Uganda, Museveni, Acholi opposition leaders agree on development. There's a photo there of the president in Uganda with some of the Acholi leaders.
They're on broad-based government.
Wanataka from broad-based. Watashanga.
It will be messy.
Pale juu, Ugandan judge convicted in the UK. You can read more on that on page 11 of the New Vision. Tuvuke border twende Bongo.
Gazeti la Mwananchi, Othman na Lisu kuzuiwa Angola. ACT Wazalendo wa Charuka walienda kushiriki mkutano, wakaishia uwanja wa ndege, wadaiwa kupokonywa hati za kusafiria. Yumo pia Dorothy Semu. Lisu washusha waraka kulaani yaamuliwa warejeshi. And
I've seen that it's not just Tanzanian politicians. I've seen even Edwin Sifuna was in Angola, and he tweeted complaining that quite a number of his team, including guys from Uganda and Tanzania, were arrested. Yeah, but he managed to leave. He had just landed, I think, in Ethiopia, then he was coming back to Kenya. So, sio maswala ya Tanzania tu pekee. Angola ni kama wako na shida fulani na sisi.
Sasa Sifuna umesema hakuwa. That's why hajakuwa akitembea na president. Unajua we were asking ourselves on the week of starting at kwa wapi.
Back to 1 million chapatis as tuletea hata.
Mwenyekiti wa CCM auawa na wasiojulikana. Ileje mwenyekiti wa jumuiya ya wazazi wa Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM kata ya Chitete wa wilayani Ileje mkoa wa Songwe. Habari hiyo katika ukurasa wa 6. SADC yaamuru majeshi yake kuondoka DRC, na Dar es Salaam mwenyekiti wakuu wa nchi na serikali za Jumuiya ya Maendeleo Kusini mwa Afrika SADC. Habari hiyo katika ukurasa wa 2 wa Mwananchi. Kule chini presha, mchakato, ugawaji majimbo. Joto la uchaguzi mkuu mwaka huu limezidi kupanda na kukoleza maombi ya kugawa maeneo ya uchaguzi ambayo hadi sasa yameagusa takriban majimbo 14. Mchakato huo ni kwa mujibu wa katiba ya Tanzania inayoipa mamlaka tume huru shughuli hiyo.
Masuala ya majimbo ni ugatuzi tu, ni devolution. Sema no reforms, no elections.
Yes.
Still in Tanzania, we take a look at the Citizen. Gas to liquid plant gets fresh impetus. They're still talking about energy. Canadian firm Rocky Mountain GTL has embarked on a feasibility study as part of plans to set up a $420 million facility that will convert natural gas into synthetic diesel and jet fuel. Yes, so Tanzania, I told you, once this thing takes off, it will be a game changer for Tanzania.
Yeah. This
project is unique and very important for Tanzania, and we're convinced to be part of it by acquiring about 30% of the project. That's according to Musa Makamo, TPDC Director General. And the quick highlights on the front page of the Citizen: Central Zone dominates farming, fishing loans. Na pale Bugando set to perform kidney transplant. On the very bottom, we have this strip: Marburg outbreak defeated, government declares. That's some positive news.
Yes.
In as far as the fight against Marburg virus. So those are the regional dailies, and we'll be back to take a look at the local ones in depth in a while. Let's take a look at the weather situation, and we start off with this outlook. Maswala technology, courtesy of Zoom.earth, and very little cloud cover. If you take a look, you remember what was there around Turkana. Now today we can see all across Kenya very little cloud cover, but if you look at Nairobi, it's actually very
hot,
sunny. It's very hot. Yeah, a bit of cloud cover in Uganda. You can see areas around Budaka, Kampala, Gulu, but Kenya hakuna cloud cover leo, so it's like we're back to warm weather. Let's start off. Okay, tumeka Kigali hapa, so yes, Kigali inakaje, a bit cloudy in Kigali, but DRC ndo wako na most of the cloud cover.
Kigali pia it's a little bit hot. If you
18 degrees Celsius in Kigali right now, but it promises to get as high as 27 degrees. A bit of precipitation expected there, 1.8 millimeters of rainfall. That's Kigali, Rwanda. Let's come back home and take a look at Marsabit.
It's 21 degrees in Marsabit. It feels like 24. Highs of 31 degrees expected. Partly cloudy throughout the day, but very, very sunny.
Very sunny. Hapo hakuna chance of rain. Forget it, 0%.
Yes.
Diani, some holiday weather. 26 degrees as we speak. It's just about 6 minutes past 6. Feels like 30 degrees Celsius. Very sunny day in Diani leo. No cloud cover. Actually clear with periodic clouds. Yeah, clear skies there. Highs of 32 degrees in Diani. Some lovely holiday weather.
In Narok, it's 14 degrees. It feels like it's slight cooling expected over the next 3 days. The clouds are clear. Very, very sunny day, but highs of 26 degrees expected here.
This, if you're going to Masai Mara, this is the best time for you to go there.
Yeah.
Clear skies. But some rain expected starting next week on Monday, throughout the week next week. Lakini leo, dry weather. Back to Nairobi. And in Nairobi, 17 degrees Celsius, clear skies today. You can actually see no cloud cover at all. We are back to 29 degrees Celsius. It promises to be a very hot day. Ile mvua mulikuwa mnafikiria imekuja imeenda tena. 0.0 millimeters of rainfall. Mulikuwa mmesema mvua pengine itakuja next week on Tuesday. But today promises to be a very hot day. And tomorrow as well, 29 degrees Celsius. So that's the weather situation across the country. Let's come back to Nairobi and take a look at the traffic. Friday traffic, watu wameanza kusherehekea.
Jana hakukuwa na traffic at all.
Yes.
How are we doing today?
All the major tributaries into the CBD are looking green. Update, yes. So nothing much to report on most roads. Thika Road is looking good. Imetokea wapi masuala ya Donholm. I think it's a bit early because, yes, 8-9 minutes past the hour. The Utali, what do you call it? The Pangani interchange is building up slowly. Nothing much to worry about. If you're on Thika Road or Kiambu Road, is the best time to leave home and head towards town. Jogoo Road, it's building up. You can see around Makadara a long stretch of red there. Once you get closer to City Stadium roundabout, it's also building up there. Okay, incidentally, it's building up at Mudhurwa, opposite Machakos bus station, heading towards town. Haile Selassie Avenue yesterday was not this busy in the morning. today it is. Let's go as far back as Kangundo Road. We see kama kuna maneno mingi. Yeah. A good one.
Yes.
Both sides of the road on Kangundo Road, closer to Outer Ring Road, are busy at this time of day. So kama unatumia barabara, hapo utapata problem. Outer Ring Road itself, usual culprits pale further and Pipeline. Matatu zinabeba watu pale. The other side of town is looking good. Yeah. Ile unaambianga ukicross Uhuru Highway, your life changes. Langata Road, Southern Bypass, nothing to worry about there. The other major tributary is Waiyaki Way. It's looking good all the way into town. So,
clear roads.
Yeah, Friday traffic.
All right.
That's a traffic situation this morning.
Let's take a look at the quote of the day.
True growth and discovery happen when we embrace the unknown. It's only by stepping outside of our comfort zones that we open the door to greater possibilities.
All right, now let's come back and take a look at the local dailies in depth. Continue with this. So we're getting news about an accident, a road traffic accident in Mega, Nakuru, where it is said that about 12 people have lost their lives.
Yeah.
I will bring you more details as we continue with this show. Right, let's take a look at the dailies and we start off with the Standard. I think huyu jamaa alikuwa amepewa off jana. Akaenda jana kulikuwa na jamaa mwingine akaandika headline mrefu kidogo, but he's back. Ridiculous Ruto, I love the alliteration. Tall tales, President William Ruto is a generous leader, not just with his money, but his promises too. The pledges he continues to make have earned him monikers because some sound outrageous, while others are plain absurd. Kenyans are still waiting to see swimming lions or 1 million chapati machines. And they use a photo of the president distributing chapati.
Mkimuita kasongo, anaimba kasongo. Mkimwambia chapati, anapika chapati.
At least, this is a generation, fashi. Latest promises, a machine that produces 1 million chapatis. Number 2, that help funds would be disbursed today to university students. Now, that was a big one. Aliambia watu, I promise you, utakuwa na pesa mfukoni by Friday. Wacha tuone. Pesa mmepata? Ama ni mapema? Maybe itaingia baadaye.
Labda ni mapema.
Number 3, that the government paid 500 million shillings to host the Grammys. What happened to that? Past promises, a 6 kg gas cylinder will cost between 300 to 500. That never materialized. The new mothers were to get free diapers for 3 months under NHIF. Where? No wonder we moved to Shif. Tourists could visit Lamu to watch swimming lions, I tell you. And the digital jobs, clicking computers from a village to earn dollars. Where? I think hapa kuna na sufuria moja. The first 100 chapatis out of the 1 million is shafika.
Yeah.
On the top strip of this paper, more highlights. Budget, police, teachers win big in proposals. Pipeline pays Treasury 7 billion shillings in dividends. And of course, they have the Pulse pull-out. I remember Stanley Nyaringita alikuwa anapenda hii Pulse on Friday, sababu ya zile pictures kwa. That's a standard.
Taifa leo, Muturi Apapasa Mamba na waziri haonekani kuhofia kufutwa kazi kwa kuendelea kuishutumu serikali ya Ruto ambayo anaihudumia. Na waziri Muturi alianza kwa kuipokea serikali kuhusu utekaji nyara wa mtoto wake. Akakosekana katika mkutano ambao takriban kila waziri alihudhuria ukiongozwa na Rais Ruto alipozuru Kakamega Januari. Kisha ikabainika kuwa amekuwa akiepuka vikao vya baraza la mawaziri tangu hapo. Hatimaye chama anachohusishwa nacho cha Democratic Party kimeanza mchakato wa kujiondoa kwenye muungano tawala wa Kenya Kwanza. Je, Muturi anataka kufutwa kazi?
Amejaribu sana kufutwa kazi, lakini jamaa mwenye anafaa kumfuta hamfuti.
Atakaa hapo. Habari zinginezo, gumzo la chapati. Habari hiyo kama hiyo pale Standard, na Rais William Ruto awagawia chapati wanafunzi wa shule ya msingi ya Toi wakati wa utekelezaji wa mpango wa dishi na kaunti katika eneo bunge la Kibra, Nairobi hapo jana. Alisema kwa serikali yake inajitahidi kuhakikisha kwa chakula wanachopewa wanafunzi kina virutubishi vya kutosha ili kuhakikisha wana afya bora na kumudu masomo vizuri. Of importance is that these kids were very happy yesterday. Na ungewaona walikuwa wanasema chapati.
Chapati will always excite kids.
Pendekezo zaidi, Kagwe yaagiza mbolea mbaya iharibiwe. Hii ni baada ya shirika la ubora kubaini kuwa muda wa magunia 25,000 ulipita. This is a very sad story. Msafara wa Ruto waua mtu ajalini, na mtu mmoja aliaga dunia katika eneo la Kibra baada ya kugongwa na gari la msafara wa rais. Apparently he's not a Kenyan citizen.
Very sad story there.
On the top strip, serikali ya mwangaza pabaya tena. Madiwani waanza mchakato wa kuang'oa mawaziri 8 kati ya 10 kule Meru. Na Arsenal versus Real Madrid. Ama tuachane na hiyo.
Quarterfinals ya UEFA Champions League imeharibika bana. Sasa Real wametoka wapi? Let's take a look at the Daily Nation. Kenya's 5 billion shilling Haiti burden. Funding crisis deepened after President Trump froze 1.7 billion shillings wired into UN fund. The mission has already cost taxpayers 4.5 billion shillings. This is something we should not even have bothered going into, because we don't have that kind of money. We need money here. But then, this is in 9 months at the time the country is struggling to finance its own critical obligations, resulting to deep budget cuts in key sectors like health and education. What is the rationale for setting aside meager resources for foreign interventions so far away in Haiti, not even Somalia? Tungesema Somalia, tungesema unajua kuna Waluya wengi wako.
Hater.
Anyway, it's going to cost us because Donald Trump has said, hiyo pesa mpati, so it's your burden. Will President Ruto now say, okay, fine, let's change tack? They juxtapose that with a different story. Kenya's 5 billion shilling Haiti burden as 4 billion shilling drugs, including HIV/AIDS medication, lie idle in warehouses of a lack of 1 billion shillings for distribution. So madawa yako, lakini tunahitaji fedha za ku distribute. 1 billion shillings only, lakini hatuna. So madawa itaharibika pale because na wagonjwa hawatapata madawa, lakini tuko na 4.5 billion tumepeleka Haiti. Sababu sisi ni watu wazuri sana.
Priorities misplaced.
Shafashi. Learners will select senior school in second term. Grade 9 learners will choose their senior schools during the second term after the Ministry of Education finalizes guidelines for admission as well as the classification of schools, with selection having been delinked from registration of candidates for national examinations. That's a story on the back page. Matters CBC Junior Secondary. Grade 9, by second term, wanachagua mahali wanaenda. Unlike ulikuwa unangojea mpaka mwisho wa mwaka unafanya mtihani, alafu utajua mwaka ujao kule utaenda. NEC releases 2025 KCSE timetable and warns against irregularities. Bado kuna KCSE mwaka huu. Poleni. That's the Daily Nation today.
The Star, State House and lodges repairs to eat up 8 billion shillings. 8 billion. Wacha tuangalia anasemaje humo ndani. They say the government plans to spend 7.81 billion Kenyan shillings to renovate State House and lodges, with some 2.8 billion already spent, a new report shows. Now, the document also reveals that despite the Gen Z protests against government extravagance, public offices splurged a record 6 billion shillings on travel within 3 months after the demos. Interesting. And the revelations are contained in the latest National Government Expenditures Report for the first half of the financial year, released by Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango on Thursday. And according to the report, the government is renovating State House, Nairobi and Mombasa, and 8 state lodges. Iki tusilikuwa renovated juzi na ikakuwa na lot of backlash.
More money for more renovation.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, we don't have 1 billion shillings to distribute medicine. But State House lazima ikae tip-top shape.
Yes. We must shine. The house on the hill.
Shafash.
I just know this guy is not going to rest. If I cannot rest because of Isiolo.
And you see, this photo is now common on 3 front pages. We have the same
goodness.
photo on the front page of the Star, front page of the Standard, and the front page of the Taifa Leo.
Yes.
The same photo, Shafash.
All right, we see a photo there of President William Ruto and Public Service CS Justin Muturi. Why it's all over between Public Service CS Justin Muturi and Ruto. In his televised interview on Wednesday night, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi made it clear that all is not well between him and senior Kenya Kwanza leaders, including President William Ruto. Now, Muturi, who has been courting controversy as the black sheep of the Kenya Kwanza team, revealed that he no longer attends cabinet meeting until it speaks boldly against abductions. And this story is on page 7.
All right, I go being back to the chapati debate. Wanasema hapa, a chapati a day makes for happy school children.
All right. Gadhungu, new varsity funding model flawed and ineffective. Today is a Friday. There's a siasa put out there. How long will Raila stay in shaky marriage with embattled Ruto? Now Ruto is embattled, apparently. Is he?
Well, I don't know.
The Star wanasema he
He looks very comfortable with the chapos.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's in trouble at all.
He will not rest.
Yeah. All right, even as we continue taking a look at the dailies, of course, there's that breaking news on your screens. Yes, we're waking up to news of a terrible and fatal road crash that has taken place at Migaa, that's Molo area along the Eldoret-Nakuru highway. It involved a trailer that apparently rammed onto the back of a Kitale-bound matatu, and apparently it had lost control. This accident happened at 3 a.m. this morning. So far, confirmed fatalities are 13 from the mangled wreckage, and police are there. 8 males, 4 females, and 1 child have been confirmed dead. We still continue getting more details from the police, and we'll update you with more on that. People Daily today, backlash in Ruto trip. Foreigner killed when he ran over by a car in the presidential motorcade. We talked about this story. I think that People Daily has decided to go with it. Even as residents have a field day, jeering and booing head of state during his tour of Nairobi. It's been very chaotic during President Ruto's trip to different parts of Nairobi.
Yeah.
We could see people getting robbed, shops being vandalized. Now we're seeing that someone has been killed through a road accident, and simply a tragedy in the city.
Yeah.
Yes. So President William Ruto's trip to Nairobi has not been that good for most city dwellers.
Yeah.
Yes. Haiti peacekeeping mission gets 2.5 billion shillings higher than top hospitals. This is the irony of it. We do not have money. We need 1 billion shillings to distribute HIV medication. Hatuna. Kwa hivyo madawa hataribikia kule kwenye store, lakini tumeongeza kwa hiyo mission ya Haiti 2.5 billion shillings. Sababu sisi ni wale watu. Shock as government orders destruction of 27,000 bags of fertilizer. That's another story on the front page of the People Daily.
Matters business, Congo linking central bank freeze of National Bank of Kenya sale. And it says a condition imposed by Nigeria's banking regulator requiring Access Bank to exit the Democratic Republic of Congo before it can acquire the National Bank of Kenya from the KSh8B group has frozen the buyout deal. Now, fresh revelations indicate that the CBN, that is the Central Bank of Nigeria, had placed a condition for Access Bank to sell its DRC subsidiary before completing the deal. The exits include a review of Access Bank's London operations, were to inform the approval of the deal by the Central Bank of Kenya, and the delay in closing the deal, which will be valued at 1.25 times the book value, as seen KCB devise a plan B should the deal collapse. This story is on page 2 of the Business Daily. On the ticker, disclosed projects funded by tax-free bonds, Treasury told. And MPs have asked the Treasury to disclose details of development projects financed using the proceeds of infrastructure bonds, amid fears that the tax-free fund are being used for recurrent expenditures. Higher investments income lift Sanlam to record 1 billion shillings profit. Fund managers see unit trusts growth. That's the Business Daily.
All right.
Tuangalie maswala. Okay, this is what you'll be talking about.
Yes, once again, starting at 6:30 this morning, the Youth Perspective, Fred Mokua, ESC Youth MP, Dr. Derek Barasa, Opposition Youth Leader, Miriam Katheu, Youth Advocate, Nick Mwangi, SG Kenya Hardy Party, and Ken Babu, National Youth Chairman, Democratic Action Party of Kenya, DAP-K. Do stand by for that, starting at 6:30.
Maswala ya caricature.
Tuangalie maswala ya karakacha, tujue wanazungumzia nini wale cartoonists leo. JB Muturi finds himself on the cartoon on the Star today. Truth or Dare, he's playing Truth or Dare. Kuna jamaa hapa ameshika nini? Ile inaitwaje?
Dice. Is it a dice?
No. Kuna ile watu wacheza naye hivi wanaangalia wakicheza nayo. But anyway, he's playing Truth or Dare with the president. Anambia mimi siogopi kufutwa, siogopi, nifute ukitaka. It's a cartoon on the Star. This is a cartoon on the Daily Nation.
Original fake police.
Yes, only in Kenya.
New branch. Huyu alisema yeye kuform that fake police station. Yeye aliweka tu colors inampendeza. Wakasema
hata gari akapaka rangi ya askari, lakini ni vile alikuwa anapenda gari yake hiyo.
Favorite colors.
By the way, is there any law that stops you from painting your car a certain color?
Labda iko lakini hatujui.
Original fake police.
All right.
And you know, this is not the first time it's happening like this. There was a serious senior fake policeman in Naivasha some time back. The cartoon on the Standard, kuna jamaa hapa ako busy sana akibeba viti kule bunge. Beba kiti ya Budget Appropriations Committee, anasema democracy is expensive. It is indeed expensive. It has cost someone his chairman's post for this very prestigious Budget and Appropriations Committee. Lakini ya caricature pale ni ya the former prime minister. Akona tie ya orange kweli. All right. People daily, I think this is my favorite cartoon today.
Ngoja. Kuna mtu anasema hapa prominent job seekers flock Raila's office home.
Watu wanatafuta kazi.
Democracy.
Karen nasikia sasa kuna convoy. Ile Karen ukienda towards Ngong kuna mahali ukipiga kona hivi. Nasikia magari imepaki hivi. Mama Aida amesema hataki kuona watu nyumbani.
Oh wow.
Munajaza barabara.
And now to you. Hii nayo ni your favorite and I agree.
This is my favorite cartoon. It has 4 frames today.
Moi promised free milk. Kibaki promised free education. Uhuru promised free laptops.
And let's all say together, and Ruto promised free shafashi. I tell you, he will never hear the end of this.
When you're involved.
I tell you.
Oh my goodness.
So yes, these are the main discussions today. Of course, shafashi, we cannot avoid it. Na sio sisi, huyu ni cartoonist amechora. Anafanya kazi kwa People Daily. Here at TV47, we do not have any cartoon. Sisi tunapitia tu cartoons za yenyewe. Usitukasirikie sana. Shafashi.
It's a Feel Good Friday. DJ Granite will be in the studio with us from 8 a.m. Bansi Kimui will also be joining us later on. Tutakuwa na crew nyingine kali pia during that time. Wanaitwa Luminous Dance Crew.
Right. So do stand by for that and a lot more. It is a Feel Good Friday indeed here, so there'll be some dancing. Ulianza na taarab.
Yes. Hopefully interpretation Granite anieke taarab today. At least that is something that it's doable. You see, ukishaika. Interact with us. Yes. Hello. You know the director loves to say hello. So interact with us on our social media platforms at TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. TV47 News KE on X. My handle is at @Ann_Dida and the hashtag is Morning Cafe Feel Good Friday.
Yes, my handle on X is at Fred Indimule.
Stay with us.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why. You and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home, do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jameni, watu wa hii dunia, si mutanimaliza na majina. Sasa majina mumenipatia nyingi. Sasa nilikuwa na jina William, ingine Kipchirchir, ingine Samoei, ingine Ruto, mukaongeza Hasla, mukaongeza Survivor, mukaongeza Sakayo. Sasa mumefika Kasongo. Sasa hii majina yote bado muko na ingine ama imetosha? Bado iko ingine munanipatia ama imetosha? Iko ingine mutaongeza? Nasikia hata mwingine anasema chapati. Sasa hii chapati tena ni gani? Eh? Kasongo ye ye babali nangai. Salala. Hii dunia iko na maneno, lakini majina si haja. Si bora tunyoroshe kazi jameni, Kenya iweze kusonga mbele, tuunganishe taifa letu. Mimi nawapenda sana.
All right, never have we talked about chapati this much as a country. And yes, ridiculous Ruto is the front page of the Standard today. They keep on, they continue with their two-word headlines, quite striking for the Standard. And I must say it is a good job they're doing there at the Standard. President William Ruto is a generous leader, not just with his money, but his promises too. The Pledge Z continues to make of Andy monikers because some sound outrageous while others are plain absurd. Kenyans are still waiting to see swimming lions and now 1 million chapati machines. This is the front page of the Standard today. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. Miriam Katheo, youth advocate. Karibu sana. It's good to have you in studio. Nick Mwangi, Secretary General of the Kenya Ahadi Party, is also with us this morning. Nick, karibu sana to Morning Cafe. So is Ken Babu, National Youth Chairman, DAPK. That's a Democratic Action Party. Ken Babu, karibu sana. Dr. Derek Barasa joins us today. Dr. Barasa is Opposition Youth Leader. And Fred Mukua, EAC Youth MP. Karibu sana, Bwana Mukua. Yes, now we're talking about chapatis, I think. Do you agree that it's getting a bit ridiculous, Miriam?
It's definitely ridiculous because as a country, where our priorities? Who asked for the 1 million chapatis? We're asking for, the SHA to be streamlined and all these other things. That when you come to us, you're talking about chapati. Really?
But you've seen the kind of excitement. They've used this same photo, the one on the front page of the Standard. It's also there on the front page of Taifa Leo. The same photo is on the Star. And the children look happy with the chapatis. What is the problem with that? Nick, iko shida gani na chapati?
Well, good morning, Fred. I think President Ruto is really out of options to talk about in this country. And he wants to divert Kenyans to what is not really important because the issues at hand, what is happening at SHA, Kenyans literally forgetting that SHA is still a mess. It's just a mere strategy of diversion and reducing our children to just issues of eating. What about education? What about the CBC, Fred? Where are our children getting fees to go to school? What is happening to the curriculum? Those are the issues that Kenyans want to talk about.
Right.
So we cannot reduce the conversation just to shafashi.
But listening to President William Ruto, he seems to be making fun of every name you give him. For now, let me take a look at what the people at Radio 47 are talking about. I'm sure they're still talking about shafashi. This is a conversation that we cannot escape. I'll be back with you in a short while.
Jaba. Alafu wanaweka zile promises ambazo wenyewe wanasema kwamba zinaweza kuwa ni stories za jaba. Latest promises pale. Wanasema kwamba a machine to produce 1 million chapatis a day. Okay. Hiyo pia wanaiweka pale kama inakaa stories za jaba. Ya pili wanasema help funds would be disbursed today to varsity students. Ilikuwa ni kama stories za jaba. Government paid 500 million shillings to host Grammys. Can you imagine?
Okay.
To host Grammys, unakumbuka hiyo vizuri?
Nakumbuka ile 5.5 billion to host Grammys.
Alafu wanaweka pale ma past promises zile za Rais William Ruto pale. Namuona tayari Fred Ndimuli ndani ya nyumba hapa ameingia katika mpango mzima magazetini, dondoo magazetini. Good morning my brother.
Good morning bana. Chapati zimeiva bana.
Huko bado we are still looking for that machine.
Hamjazipata bado.
We are still looking for that machine my brother. Maybe uko na any idea where we can find it?
Angalia on 3 front pages today, that's a Star, the Standard and Taifa Leo. Picha ni ile moja ya Rais William Ruto akigawa chapati.
Alikula pia.
Yes. But you can see there's definitely excitement. Watoto pia wanafurahia.
Chapati.
Wanafurahia chapati. Lakini gazeti namwambia is getting ridiculous. Ridiculous Ruto. He's talking about swimming lions and now 1 million chapati machines.
And then Grammys. Hosting Grammys.
And you know what the Standard has done? Wameka orodhesha. Kiswahili kinanipotea kidogo. Meorodhesha some of these promises Rais Ruto.
Naulizaje katika zile vitu ambao Standard wameorodhesha leo.
Yes.
Hakuna chochote kile kimetokelezea?
Ndio nashangaa kama ile ya free diapers for 3 months ya mama ambao wamejifungua. Umeiona mali?
Sijaona pale. Na ile pia alikuwa amesema kwamba gas cylinder ilikuwa itoke how much?
Itoke 300 hapo.
300.
6 kg gas cylinder.
Unaiona kwenye imefika?
Bado. Alafu the swimming lions of Lamu. The swimming lions of Lamu. Watalii waende Lamu wakaone masimba wakiogelea.
Maybe hamjafanya research.
Ni Lamu hujaenda, pengine ziko. Lakini kuna ile moja aliambia university students ita happen leo. Ndio. Aliwaambia pesa ya HELB mtaipata mfukoni leo. Tungoje pengine unajua bado ni mapema. mapema, hata haijafika hata saa moja, tuwezi sema hiyo haijakuwa.
Ndio.
Pengine watoto wa university watatuambia wampata hizo fedha.
Yes. Kwa hivyo ni story tuifuatilizie kama masaa 8 hivi.
Saa 8 hivi, kama pesa zitakuwa zimewafikia mfukoni mtuelezee.
Atakuwa leo wapi?
Leo yuko Nairobi.
Nairobi, okay.
Siko na hakika upande gani wa Nairobi, lakini bado ako Nairobi anaendelea.
Unajua jana amesema kwamba IDs zitakuwa ni free kwa hivi sasa kuipata.
Well, you know, it's already gazetted and in the law that you have to pay 1,000 shillings. So sijui kama ni
gazetted.
Yeah, it's part of our laws. You have to pay 1,000 shillings for you to get an ID. Yes.
So haiwezi penduliwa, si rais ashasema sasa.
Unajua kuna kusema na kuna kutenda.
Okay. Lakini unafikiriaje kuhusiana na hizi chapati? Kwa mfano kama chapati zingekuwa zina wamama wa Nairobi, wamama 1,000 wakipewa hiyo kandarasi, uone kama unaweza kutengeneza chapati milioni 1?
Anazungumzia mashini. Sio kazi za wamama, za kina mama, ni mashini moja itakuwa inatengeneza. Pengine unajua kuna watu wengi wanaamka wanafanya hiyo kazi ya kupika chapati.
Yes.
Wakipata hii mashini, inamaanisha wale watapoteza kazi. If at all they actually actualize this promise, then what does it mean? Because we could be making fun of it, but akija na hiyo mashine ya kupika chapati milioni 1
per day itakuwa watu wenyewe,
watu wengi kumaanisha watakuwa kwa nje,
watu wengi watacheza nje. Lakini ita depend kama hizo chapati za mashine zitakuwa tamu. Maana kwa kupikwa na mama ni tamu sana. Za machine sasa zitakuwa ile zitakuwa chapati tamu, zitakuwa na pages.
Na sasa yeye anasema ati sasa mmemuita majina mengi sana. Alianza Kasongo, Kaongo, Zakayo. Sasa anasema sasa mpaka anaitwa Shafashi sasa.
Anasema El Chapo.
Ajali. He's making fun of it sasa. Sijui tuioneje sababu now he's making fun that whatever is being called, kama jana akiwa juu ya gari walikuwa napiga hiyo wimbo ya Kasongo. Na anaimba, hata yeye mwenyewe anaimba, achukua na microphone anaimba Kasongo. So sijui atakubali hii jina ya chapati pia.
El Chapo. Nadhani ni mtu ambao alisema haipendelei. Sidhani kama anaipendelea Mheshimiwa Rais.
El Chapo apendelei
majina ambayo mmempatia.
Apendelei.
Sidhani kama anapendelea. Lakini ile tu hana budi. Manake yamesukumwa tu next and maybe hakuepukiki tena.
Anajaribu kutuonyesha ni kama anafurahia, lakini
hafurahi. Mtu angelipenda, wewe unazapenda kuitwa Kaongo? Unazapenda kuitwa Kaongo? Unazapenda kuitwa El Chapo? Unazapenda kuitwa Zakayo?
Maybe the thing I'm wondering at Fred in the morning ni kwamba saini rais, lakini bado promises mbona zinaongezeka? Because before awe rais kulikuwa na promises mingi sana. Na mingi bado hazijafanyika, kama hiyo ya gas cylinder, hiyo ya wamama na diapers na kadhalika. Mingi bado hazijafanyika. Lakini sasa ni rais na bado ahadi ni nyingi zinaongezeka.
I think sometimes
it's going to catch up and
he puts himself in that situation. Kila wakati ukitoka pale juu kwa gari lazima waelezee watu jambo fulani.
Ndio.
If you don't put yourself in that situation, you'll not need to make promises. But if at all unajiweka kwa hiyo situation every day, lazima waambie watu kitu kipya.
Na mbona why do you keep on increasing promises na bado hujafulfill katika zile promises tayari ambazo ulikuwa umepatiana? Haoni pia maybe pia anajiweka katika situation ambapo maybe atakuwa anaulizwa maswali mengi zaidi na Wakenya, you know because kama right now ameulizwa kuhusiana na gazeti linauliza kuhusiana na gas, kuhusiana na hizo vitu zote ambazo tumezizungumzia, na bado amesema kwamba nitajenga daraja, nitajenga nini. Haoni pia anajiweka maybe in a situation which is not awkward situation with Kenyans maybe?
Lakini unajua pia Wakenya, kuna wale Wakenya wanamwamini sana. Akipeana hizo ahadi, kuna wale wanaamini atakuja kutimiza. So there are so many people who support him and his promises. Whether or not he delivers, that's a different story.
So which is the best way? Kuambia Wakenya more promises ama kuambia fanyeni hivi watu wangu, wacheni kwanza nimalizane na zile ambazo niliwaelezea, wacheni kwanza ni deliver? Which is the best way?
You know, for a politician also you need to deliver hope. Hope tu ati kuna kitu itatendeka, hata tujui, lakini ninawaambia msijali. Kuna chapati milioni 1 zinakuja, msijali. Barabara ile ya Mandera iende work, inakuja. Kila siku gas inakuja, msijali. Delivering hope is one of the main jobs of a politician.
Alafu unajua pia wakiongelea kuhusiana na hiyo chapati, wanasema wenyewe kwamba tuliposema tutalisha watoto wote wa public schools in Nairobi walidhani ni mchezo. Si sahi wanakula.
Lakini kumbuka hata kulikuwa na ile promise ya laptops, ilienda wapi? Ile promise ya stadiums ilienda wapi?
Haya,
maswali ni mengi tu. Wacha nirudi kuna.
Asante. Ndio magazetini asubuhi hii ya leo tena kwa mpigo zaidi, ikiwa zimetimia mwendo wa saa 1 kasoro dakika 12. Unasemaje?
Nikubalie niulize jamaa kule studio swali. Bwana Nick, over on the TV side, do you feel like President William Ruto is mocking Kenyans or young Kenyans when he appears to be accepting these names?
anakubali kuitwa Kasongo, anakubali kuitwa Kaongo na anaimba juu ya gari. Unakubali maybe he's mocking Kenyans?
All right.
I think so, Fred, because he's reducing this conversation to just a mere comedy. And these are what is frustrating Kenyans. Young people are saying, look, President, these are not issues that we should be laughing about. We are not talking about our education. We're not talking about our funding model. We're not talking about the budget come June. We're not talking about the health conversation. We are not talking about the new education funding model. Yet he's reducing and making this issue like a laughing stock. And we are getting frustrated as Kenyans, Fred. And these are the issues that, despite as if it looks as if Kenya is moving on, but we are not moving on, Fred. We are saying that this whole issue about our country, we must have a conversation. We must have a conversation about our healthcare system. We must have a conversation about our education system. We must have a conversation about the economy, Fred. And we cannot simply reduce this as a laughing stock, Fred. It is literally very sad.
Young Kenyans in calling the president these different names, Zakayo, Kasongo, they were trying to express something, Ken Babu, from what we saw last year, especially with the budget-making process, and we'll come to talk about that later. They're trying to express something. But when the president comes out and appears to be taking advantage of the same, ni kama anaanguka nayo, where does that leave the young Kenyans? Are they left feeling that whatever they were trying to communicate now is being taken in a light touch?
Fred, thank you so much. Let me make it clear that President William Ruto is in the final stage of grief. That is acceptance. He's actually accepting the fact that he lost the elections of 2027 on 25th June 2024, and he can't do anything about it anymore. So the guy is just walking around and trying to make people feel like, he's trying to accept that despite the fact that I'm going home, I need to go home a happy man. And in reality, is not that he's not a happy man. Let me tell you that the populist proclamation and declaration that the president is doing on sunroofs everywhere, every day, cannot change anything. We want to hear him talk about education. What are his plans to revive the education sector so that we can go to school? We want to hear him talk about health sector. We want to hear the president talk about security. We want to hear him talk about high cost of living, taxation. Until then, whatever he's saying about the chapatis and everything cannot make any sense, because anyway, not all of us take chapati. He was talking about the students taking chapati. In that school alone, not all those students take chapati. And if you looked at the situation and the scenario and the expression in the face of the students, actually they were surprised, they were laughing at that guy. You know, when he said, I'm going to give you 1 million chapatis, and people, there are some shouting and ululations, he thought people are happy. If you look at that video keenly, you'll realize that the students were surprised, like, indeed, this is a president, this guy's a joke. Yes. You know, as a president, his word should mean something. Yes. And he should not be making proclamation like a mayor, MCA, or a village elder. So we are saying high cost of living, taxation, education, health, and security. Those are the critical issues that the president should be talking about. Yes. Not making roadside proclamation about chapatis and what people are going to eat.
Dr. Barasa, do you feel like there will be serious consequences when President William Ruto continues to trivialize serious national discourse?
Very much. Good morning once again. Yes. So just to throw us back, the past 4 days have meant a lot for the people of Nairobi, and especially us who have followed through the campaign trail, in quotes, of the president, starting from Kamukunji, the TVET, the donation to the Rivers Project, and then now to St. Teresa, giving the chapati donation and all. The truth of the matter is that the president seems to be in a position that he makes knee-jerk proclamations that he might easily run out of stock of. Just to give account of the price of chapati in Nairobi, these chapatis that he's entailing for maybe every student would be about 45 shillings. But according to the county planning, the dish in a county program, the budget has been running at 1.7 billion. And when you look at the numbers roughly, I don't know if you can go through that, just to say here, in a day you need to make about 41,667 chapatis. That means about over 214 chapatis per second. And if you look at that introspectively, you realize that this is actually hard logistically and strategically in terms of labor costs and even the materials that you use to make. Just to give an example, salad oil costs about 250 shillings. And if you were to make about 20,000 chapatis in a day, you need about 5 million. And if you look at Unga, for example, you need another plus size amount of money. And so all these things push the government into a boxed corner. I don't know if the government can easily analyze and assess itself, realize that these are things that are actually out of the initial plan. I don't know if this is going to be footed by the center source of government, but my understanding so far as I've read and analyzed this whole program of Chapati in Nairobi tells me that 5% is going to be footed by parents, 25 shillings is going to be footed by the county, and 15% is going to be footed by the donors. So it boxes us into another position again. Yes. Donors are coming into the picture. This is something that the government in the first place is running against. And now, why are we now talking about installing another burden of 5 shillings per chapati to a parent? Just to make it clear, I've grown up in a typically Kenyan family, and we know chapati is that thing that we eat once in a year. Akimiata, even if my mother tells me, sorry, not once in a year, but just to make it clear. Yeah, it's something that tulikuwa tunajua ukifanya vizuri nitakupea chapo. Hivi nitakupea chapo. We grew up eating ugali. If the conversation would have centered into something that would have been contemporary to the Nairobi population, something like ugali, I would have understood. This in-account program is one that I have strongly believed for, because I know what these young children in schools go through, empty stomachs and all these things. But when you come in with lackluster promises, an extra, so government needs about, Nairobi County needs about 2 billion to say. And so far, the county has been running at 1.7 billion. Who's going to run that extra 0.3 billion? And now that's just for Chapati. We're not talking about the TVET project in Kamukunji. We're not talking about the 800 million groundbreaking program in Mathare and other projects that has been made around Nairobi. So who is fooling who?
But if we look at the other side, Bonamukua, because on one hand, even dish in a county is not necessarily, should not necessarily be a priority of any devolved unit. A county, matters education are not even a devolved unit, apart from ECD and TVETs. That is on one hand. Secondly, could we be looking at this the wrong way? If at all there's an opportunity to make so many chapatis, shouldn't we be looking at creating more employment? If at all we are serious about making chapatis, instead of getting a machine, employ young people to actually cook the real chapatis?
As we go by, we are like going back to Moi era, where the president used to line up children on the roads and the parents and promise them and you see the statement he was making was a mere political statement, and he was addressing kids on the road and a few people who feel like they are, or claim that they are now in the government. So the thing that he should focus on, making 1 million chapatis seem to be unrealistic, and we have other priority that needs to be addressed other than that chapati. It is a good move, but that is not a thing that a president is supposed to stand in the sunroof addressing.
Not even if it is a possibility of creating opportunities for employment for the youth?
That one will not create employment. In fact, roughly making 1 million chapati, one person can make at least 1,000 chapati per day. And you see, if you do you lose almost 1,000 jobs, which means it is also bringing more effect on the people. So jobs should be done manually so that you can employ people in the informal settlement. They can do that. We have people who can do that perfectly, even do 3,000 chapatis per day and pay them good. So I don't think in terms of infrastructure deployment of setting up such machine, it should be an industrial thing, not a government.
Miriam, do you think that probably we're making fun or making light of something that could actually be serious? Probably the president was really serious about this. Do you think that we could be wrong in the kind of making light of this conversation?
Fred, I wish that we were wrong. But like, if we are to judge this person based on his past, actions, they overpromise and underdeliver. I mean, we are still waiting for the free internet that we were promised during their campaign time. It's not yet here. So they have no business to begin promising chapatis. How about they get back, work on the promises that they made to Kenyans before they start dishing out?
And some of the
Very
promises
ridiculous.
are there on the front page of the Standard.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. The latest one, a machine that produces 1 million chapatis. But he has also promised university students that today they will get their HELB monies. If that comes out to be true, if at all they get money by 2 p.m. probably today, that would be one promise fulfilled.
Yeah, we would be happy with that. Like, they need to constantly remember that we are not angry with them because we just want to be angry. We're angry because they keep promising things that they don't do. But based on how these people have been behaving, I mean, it will be a miracle, but miracles do happen. So we are waiting. If that does not happen, we will be calling the president. He asked us to call him anyway.
He said a 6-kilogram gas cylinder would cost between 300 and 500. That we are yet to see. That new mothers will get free diapers. I'm just reading the list on the front page of the Standard. They would get 3 free diapers for 3 months. That would have been good. He talked about tourists visiting Lamu to watch swimming lions, government paying 500 million shillings to host the Grammys. Nick, do you agree with this headline that it's getting ridiculous?
I definitely agree with the Standard, Fred, because he has promised, for example, the HELB will be released today. Ideally, my alma mater, the technical universities of Kenya, the students are on strike, the lecturers are on strike, the new education funding model, parents are still complaining about it. It's still another false promise to me. I still
think still young, Nick. Probably what about your pesa by
really, Fred, and you see, the Standard is really on point, because for how long are we going to play this game as if it's a charade, Fred? Families at home are really getting worried about our president. Is he really in a position whereby to actually keep a promise? Or is he really heading to psychotic issues, Fred? Because those are the things that we are asking ourselves here. Look, because he started by the issue of gas back in 2022, 2023. He went to mothers getting NHIF and free diapers. He went to free internet. Now we are at chapatis, Fred. Where are we going next? Are we going to auction our country? Fred, those are the questions that we are asking this morning, Fred.
All right. Now, when it comes to a government promising its people, the best way to do it is through the budget-making process. That once you budget for these things, then it becomes reality. We are going through that now. And it's emerging because now the various committees in Parliament which are concerned with the budget-making process are looking at this. The promise is clear. If you look at the budget-making process, Ken, that is where you see the truth of the matter. State House and lodges repairs to eat up 8 billion shillings. That's the front page of the Star. Now, this is a real promise because it is there in the budget. Who should we be listening to?
You know, Fred, I think we are operating in a space where we don't have leaders in elective positions that we can believe in anymore. The country is in a state of hopelessness, and nobody knows who to listen to and who to take serious. Because you see, this issue of budget making process is very critical. But if you look at the constitution of the parliament as it is right now, the budget committee chair actually should be minority, is from the minority party. This guy should not be sitting on that seat. And you look at Peak and Park, you see there's too much confusion to an extent that you cannot even establish if this budget can be pro-people, and even if people people say that, okay, this is what we wanted, these are things that should be addressed, it will be factored in. Because today they say that there is too much traffic in Kerarpon. People are lining up there to seek jobs. There is no employment authority at Kerarpon. Why are people lining up to seek employments from that point? That tells you the level at which we have been reduced as a country and as a people, to an extent that critical decisions in this country, including the decisions that should be made by public service commissions, are made by individuals. So then it means this issue of budget, serious matters like health, education, security, that should be given priorities, will miss out because it is through this state lodge repairs that have been done over time. These are what we call budgeted corruption. Because who is accountable for this? The other time we saw renovation of State House, we've not been told how much was spent out of what was allocated, how much was spent, and how much remained from the initial budget. Already they're allocating 8 billion. They said that they're going to renovate state lodges in Nairobi, Kisumu, Kisii. I come from Kisumu County. I've not seen any renovation going on in Kisumu State Lodge, but the budget was there. It was released. Nothing has happened. So where did this money go to? So you see, those are the critical issues that we are asking. But if you look at how things are, the president is on record saying that there was a mongrel of a system where the opposition, you cannot tell if opposition is the government and government is opposition. Today, we don't have a position. We have a government that operates like opposition and operates like government. If there's an issue, they oppose. If they are comfortable, they support. So that's the situation where we're in.
All right. And we are deep into the budget-making process, Dr. Barasa, now. But there appears to be a disconnect. Last year, the main issue around the Gen Z demos was about the budget-making process, the finance bill, what they were talking about, how they were conducting the process. But it appeared, because we are in March, there's only April, May, then the budget is actualized in June. How come we're not having these conversations the way we were having them last year?
Thank you so much for that question. The question on budgets, the budget process is one that starts about last year, as early as last year. It's just that right now the public is waking up to this because it's in the headlines, because it's selling sweet. I'm thankful to the Standard, because I read the Standard many times and I know they've been reporting on the story many times. But just to look at it precisely, I think the public is agitated, and that's why this is making the headlines. If you look at it introspectively, I just stumbled on the appropriation of about 49 billion towards Parliament. That is 7 billion more than what they actually appropriated last year. And the slashing of the health budget by about 73 billion. Yeah, where are the priorities? And
that's a promise this government is making to you.
No, like you said before, some of these things are not promises because they are already in action. And now if you're talking about the budget process, this is something that started
This
way
is a
back.
realistic promise backed by law.
We are, in proverbial terms, stuck in the muddle. So how do we get out of it? Because government has precisely shown us that it is made up of people that do not stick to the detail. The devil is in the detail. This government showed us last year in the Gen Z protest that they are the same MPs who said that they did not read the whole bill, the finance bill. And this year, we are seeing a replica system, replica project the same, where the MPs clearly have not read what is in the detail, because on the floor of Parliament, we see all these people, minority leader, they come speak, oh, we should make more money towards health, we should make more money towards roads. But if you read the detail, you will get agitated. I just looked at the health budget, for example. 2 billion applied to health workers, the health worker grievances. Seriously, if you divided that according to the health worker service population statistics, you'd realize that there is a small little lie there. So what does that diagnose of this government? This government is one made up concisely of what we call in the medical field a flight of ideas. One time you're thinking of this, the next you're thinking of that, and before you finish one, you're moving to another. So this whole kind of action salad, this jumbo mambo, where you are stuck with a lot of things that you fail to accomplish, even just one task, is one of the bitter syndromes of this government. And if I may just put to you, this government is going to be the first one on record, and I'm telling you this, to finish a 5-year term without accomplishing one single project. And clearly we're seeing that 2.5 years into the government. Seriously, the only successful things, the gentleman and lady on me on the show will accept and agree that the only successful thing this government has ever done is impeachment of a governor, deputy president, and a few. But if you talk about projects...
And the killing of the 60 young people.
Imagine, yeah? And more. That is underreported according to some people. Right. Yes. So this government clearly is running under a psychopathic role, sorry to say so, but if we do not wake up and play our role as citizenry and call our MPs back to book, we might get stuck in a situation whereby government does not achieve
And we run the risk of simply criticizing the government and doing very little. Last year, Gen Zs came out to call out the government on the budget-making process, but a bit late in the process, once the finance bill was being debated. We have an opportunity through public participation to actually call the government out on some of these budgeted issues. But we're not seeing that level of agitation that we saw last year. Do we run the same risk of waiting until the tail end of the budget-making process to raise our voices?
As per now, the way you see things, the state of the president is focusing more on capturing the parliament. That's why he is reshuffling the committee and ensuring that he has no opposition once they come to voting. So I'm seeing this year the demonstration might be more worse compared to last year. And you can see he has now shifted to Nairobi and he is focusing on the region that were the demonstration were much promising, giving them false promises just to neutralize. And I see it is already gone. I don't think he will be able to, it will be more mass and worse than last year.
Mirab, do you agree that probably this time, with the kind of knowledge we have from last year's budget making process, that even the youth have a better opportunity ahead of time to make their voices heard and not just wait till the tail end to demonstrate once things don't go their way?
Definitely, but I think the youths have actually been taking lead in that. What they don't agree with, they will, voice it out as it comes to the public knowledge. And if they once again do what they did last year, I think people have more energy to even go to the streets and do what they need to do. If it's submitting emails in line with whatever they don't agree with in the budget making process, the youths are prepared. I don't think we are ready to tire. Even if we are fighting like people who really don't listen, we will make our voices be heard.
Yes. Yet the president appears hell-bent to pursue some projects or programs that he deems necessary. On the front page of the Daily Nation, they talk about Kenya's 5 billion shilling Haiti burden. People opposed this plan. They even went to court saying it is not our burden. We have more pressing issues here at home. Now the US that are promised to actually fund the project has pulled out, and now it's Kenya's burden. The mission has cost taxpayers 4.5 billion shillings already in the 9 months at a time when the country is struggling to finance its own critical obligations. Now this has resulted in deep budget cuts already. So as it is, and this is there on the front page of the Daily Nation, you don't need to struggle to look for it. There are 4 billion shillings worth of drugs in our stores, including HIV/AIDS medication, lying idle in warehouses because we do not have 1 billion shillings for distribution. Nick, some of these things are so glaring, yet we are not talking about them.
Fred, one will wonder what are really our priorities as a country. And the president is really out of order, for lack of a better word. Because it was a very sad state to see a parent who received a body from Haiti with something which the court had already presided as unconstitutional, and we still went ahead, or the government still went ahead to deploy Haiti to deploy officers in Haiti. Yet there are alarming security issues in our border. Yet our borders, I see people fighting day by day. The other day, I was seeing a clan war. Where are our security forces when we need them? So one will want to wonder, what is really our priorities as a country, Fred? But that's beside the point. It seems as if we have a lot of money in this government, but it's going to the wrong place. A 4.5 billion report. Yet people are still sleeping hungry in this country. Yet we are still struggling to have a better healthcare system. Yet we can still not define which education funding model we have, Fred. Yet there are still children learning under trees, Fred. Yet we are coming in a rainy season, Fred. We saw last year, it was chaotic in Nairobi. Yet we still don't have a plan for it. Should we wait that the streets of Nairobi or the streets of the country flood as happened last year so that we come running? Those are the questions that Kenyans are asking. Where is this 4.5 million when we need them the most?
All right.
Yeah.
It is how the president is approaching this discussion that's leaving a lot of questions more than answers, Ken, because the president appears buoyed that whatever he wants, he now feels he has best support through the broad-based collaboration with ODM, better than he had last year. Last year, during the budget-making process, ODM was on the other side, and they actually voted no for the finance bill. This time round, they are on his side. Definitely, the president would feel more confident to push whatever he feels is necessary through this budget-making process. Do you think it's going to get any easier for the Gen Zs, or for anyone, for that matter, to actually call this government to account?
I think, Fred, like I said earlier on, we don't have the opposition, and it is our responsibility as young people to keep this government in check, because it is quite clear that we have a rogue regime, we have a rogue system, we have a system that does not listen, we have a system that is being led by people who believe that whatever they say should be the final. So it is our responsibility as young people to keep our eyes open. In fact, this finance bill that is coming forth, we need to look at it deeper, more than what we did in 2024, because this one, itakuwa mbaya. But let me say something on this issue of drugs and 4 billion and the Haiti thing. The court pronounced itself on this issue, but the president went ahead, chest thumping, and proceeded with this process. We saw that young man who was brought at JKI in that casket, and the family was grieving, and you saw what happens. You see, these are things that these are things that goes down to families. But what is the president saying about that? Issues of HIV and AIDS, these are critical issues. And I was watching news yesterday, and I was surprised that we have drugs, get that? But we do not have the money to move them around and ensure that everybody is the part of the country is getting the drugs. But the president is focused on different issues, talking about dishing money in churches, promising to renovate state houses and everything. We need to look into our priorities. But let me tell you, Fred, this government, if you look at it from the onset, even before it came to power, they have survived on populist declarations. And that's the only thing they are doing till now. Yesterday, we saw the president talking about issues of IDs being free. But if you look at it, these are matters that we kept talking about and asking questions. The president should not be given claps and shouts and ululations because he declared that ID should be free. He needs to tell us why did we have the pay in the first place. 300 for 300 for application and 1,000 for replacement. And why have we been paying this money all this while? And who was receiving the money? If SHA system is being managed by an individual and they cannot establish and substantiate where the money is going to, then there's possibilities that this money that we were paying for IDs was also maybe going to somebody's account, and the person who was receiving the money is now satisfied that, guys, have collected enough. Now the president decides to make the declaration. That thing needs to be gazetted first, that indeed there shall be no payment. And two, he has a responsibility to explain to Kenyans why you are paying in the first place and where the money was going to. Finally, let me finish with this issue of NHIF and the issue of SHE, because these are critical matter. If you look at the NHIF, at that time when it was, people were paying 500 shillings and they were getting treatments. If you look at people were getting dialysis and chronic diseases were being treated at 500 shillings. But today we are paying, more than what we used to pay in NHIF, but still we cannot get those services. And look at the transition point, the transition moment of from NHIF to SHA. If you look keenly, there was no, there is no serious, process that has happened. If you go to that building, the only thing that they changed, they removed the N in NHIF and replaced with S. And that we are told that was a budget of about 4 billion. So you see, there is so much misappropriation and there's so much embezzlement of finances, public funds, and there's lack of priorities. And that's why we are saying that this government needs to look on critical issues. The focus of the president as at now should be, is health working? Is education functional? Is there security for the people? High taxation, so that when he stands in the public, people can have something to smile about him.
All these things are linked right now, Dr. Barasa, because we're looking at Parliament and they're actually on the driving seat in the budget-making process. But looking at the events of the past 2 weeks, with the shifting of alliances, changing of leadership of crucial committees, including the Budget and Appropriations Committee, it would appear that the president has even better control of the houses of legislation. Are you confident that the process will be any different this time around? Do you expect that now that ODM has taken over some crucial committees, that probably there'll be better scrutiny of this budget-making process?
Clearly not. I am not in any way impassioned by the dealings between the two parties, because one to say It was made between the UDA party and the ODM party. We know this government is run on the basis of a coalition government, coalition systems. So these cutting corners that we see, the people that actually got into this understanding, we were trying to bend corners around the Kenyan citizenry, trying to escape the position that would put them in a place where the MPs of the UDA that were loyal to the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua would have to resign from parliament, and the numbers of the majority would decrease, would happen. All these things would show that this government is trying to circumvent its situation around a tight corner. But just to say, I mean, we had a nice discussion about the Haiti mission, and I want to speak to you just in a minute, because it's something that we need not forget very fast. We should not have the short-term memory of a goldfish. In last year, just around the Gen Z protest, we had the first consignment. 200 police officers were deployed to a strife-torn continental mission in the Haiti, whereby everyone all over the world was wondering, what is Kenya up to? The UN Security Council, of course, endorsed that mission and believed that, yes, Kenya will go to, of course, provide the service. But the United Nations particularly has refused, up to now, is adamant to service that financing. And we are looking at Kenya bearing the brunt of that. 2.1 trillion was funded in the first supplementary one estimate of last year to meet this challenge. And right now, as we talk, the government has been adamant to even send more 600 police officers to Haiti. I mean, some of us who know really what happens in the military corridors will tell you that the numbers that are reported about the deaths and all this usually sometimes are underreported. I can tell you for real, many people have tried Haiti, and Haiti is a deathbed of many people. So to come and I'm not a prophet of doom, but I do believe that the situation is actually worse on ground. Now, 2 billion so far in this budgetary planning has been added to make the 4.5 billion in Haiti that we see right now. Just to make it clear, the new budgetary estimate for the military is about 5 billion. How can Haiti and the defense ministry actually bear in power in terms of budgetary estimates? It does not make sense. HIV, AIDS, TB, all these drugs that we need have been budgeted for about 11 billion for a whole year. How clearly do you make it a point that a non-priority interest, which like Haiti, would cost about half of the amount that we need for health for these drugs in Kenya? Just yesterday, I saw the health CS, my namesake, CS Baraza, making a very ludicrous comment. And of course, many people logistically will predict that it was a bluff, saying that drugs have been somewhere and now they're going to be released, that despite the donor cutting from the US, we won't be affected. But clearly, if you look at the situation right now, de facto, you realize that there's a missing 1 billion to the health ministry per se to even distribute these drugs. This government is caught in a tightrope, and they just do not understand it. The US government has made it clear. One time I was here and I talked about the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. This government really needs one of a kind. The US government has decided to suspend 1.3 billion Kenya shillings towards the Haiti mission. 1.3 billion Kenya shillings is a paltry amount. It's just about a third of the total estimate that Kenya is actually spending there. What actually drives us to go and spend 3 times what the US was spending in Haiti? Now, we all know, and I might want to interest our audience into how the UN works in terms of reimbursing these amounts to countries that actually spend their money in Haiti. And so there is what we call a United Nations instrument for unit requirement, that the instruments that you are providing for the mission must actually pass a certain threshold of performance before you actually succeed. How sure are we that where we sit as Kenyans, we can be comfortable, that we have a proficient system happening in Haiti that is actually going to deliver above that unit requirement so that we can get our reimbursement? And even if that happens, when and how is it going to come back? Is it going to come back after 1,000 people have died of HIV and AIDS or malaria or TB or these things? Where are our priorities, like Nick was saying? Where are our priorities as a country? We need to put these things to bed.
If you look at Parliament, they've increased, and I think, Barasa, you mentioned this earlier, they increased their budget, parliamentary budget, by about 7 billion shillings, from 42 billion last year to 49 billion shillings. Unilaterally, in Parliament, once they agree on something, it is their process. Yet we are seeing reduction in the health budget. Is this the same Parliament that you're sure will give Kenyans a good budget? And are we asking the right questions at this time, Wanamukua?
In the parliament, it is the same monkey, different forest. And you can see, I can do a proper analysis from the first from the first handshake. During 2013 presidential election, one was being called a drunkard, and the other one was called a conman or after sometimes the thieves was removed from the basket and a conman was put in. And we are seeing the same thing in 2025. A tribal lord has been removed and a conman and a thief are in the same basket. And the casualty are also, we have some other political orphan. Like in the previous one, the casualty was Mudavadi and Weta. And this time it's Kalonzo and the other one, they call him a tribal lord. So it is the same people, but they shift, change. And then when they are affected, they come to people to seek mercy. And once they get into the government, like what happened recently, they forget. So we don't see anything. What we need as a country is a total systemic change. We do away from all these leaders. If you try to bring in Matiang'i, he was in the same system. If you try to bring in Kalonzo, he has been there. They are the same people. They just revolve around the same, protecting their own interests above. So I don't think and I can also touch on SHA. Recently, they did a review of mean testing instrument, and I can tell you that it has shot. Someone used to pay 300. Now I see the minimum is around 540, which shoot from 3,600 to almost 6,000. So there's nothing that a common mwananchi can feel good about it. And you can see we don't need an handshake to cap the cost of living. We have those entities that are responsible to work on the cost of living, like the National Treasury. We have also the Ministry of Trade that is supposed to work on that. We have KRA that is supposed to work on it. If you go to the other thing like electrical reform, that is the work of Parliament, Judiciary, and IEBC that is supposed to work on that. If it is job creation, we have the NEA that was recently created. We have a KEPSEA. We have the Ministry of Youth. We have the Ministry of Youth Affairs and also the Ministry of Labor that is supposed to work on the issue of job or employment. If you go to the issues of like democracy, we have that is the work of IEBC, Registrar of Political Party, and also the civil society organization. And it is high time now the CSO should wake up, join the youth, so that if you want to bring changes, all the stakeholders must come together. It is not about the youth.
Yes.
It is not about the old people. The problem is affecting all of us. So we need to come together and resolve. If you see the issue of tackling like corruption, we have ESCC, we have the DCI, we have the ODPP, we have also in terms of, we have most of the corruption happening in the procurement. We have the public procurement authority that is supposed to oversight that. We don't need BAMBA in the government for those things to work. If it is the issue of the constitutional review, we have the parliament, we have CIC, we have the judiciary, and also us, the public, who are supposed to work on that. If it's the issue of national security, we have the NCIC, we have the NIS that is supposed to handle that, we have NPS, and then we have the ministry of that is supposed to work on that. If it is the issue of inclusion, you see the president is, now it's like today, you realize all the funders have been removed from treasury. Now they are being operated from State House. You can see the president launching projects that are supposed to be done by the county government, like the markets. That's the work of the government, that is not the work of the president. And also in terms of development, we have people like Commission for the CRA. What is the work of the CRA? We have the county government. We have KANE and MBS that is supposed to do inclusive development. And the last, we have the issue of public participation. And from time, we have seen even the CBC public participation in Kenya is done during implementation. Even if you see in the SHA, this thing, the people are complaining. This is now the real public participation that was supposed to be.
But the question is the role of the citizen now, because I'm seeing like what the youth did last year, sustaining it is an issue, Miriam, because like now what we're talking about is a supplementary budget. It's not the budget we're waiting for, the real budget for 2025, 2026. That conversation we are yet to start, although it is at an advanced stage before the National Assembly. These are supplementary budget, the same budget that you were complaining about last year. They've just approved 113.7 billion shillings more. Yet we're not seeing the youth, the Gen Z, sustaining the conversation they were having last year. How confident are we that this conversation, we are still with it? That now when it comes to the main budget for next year, we're going to talk about it, when we're not even sustaining conversations from last year. We seem to have fizzled out and forgotten and moved on.
I wouldn't call it fizzling out or forgetting and moving on. There's a lot that's happening in this country, and you'd agree with me. It's like we're in the middle of some drama fest of some sort. And I would like to point you to this MOU thing. Really, this memorandum of understanding, why do we need to have two parties sign an understanding? Why can't it be the government and the people of this country? Again,
could it be a distraction from the main discussions that we should be having? It's
definitely a distraction, and I think it shouldn't be happening because, again, Fred, this MOU, in case things go south, can they really challenge these other parties in court? I mean, we are a country that is guarded by the Constitution. So what is an MOU? What do we need an MOU for? These people are out here jumping on top of vehicles, speaking about SHA. We should be talking about universal healthcare. What is universal healthcare? Accessible to all, affordable for all. But this SHA thing that's happening, honestly, it's not anything that is for the mwananchi. I feel like this government is up to doing business with us.
The question that I should be asking is, mutadu? Because last year, what did you do? The MOU will be signed or was signed mutadu, mulidu, Nick mutadu.
Fred, I think we're already doing something. Fred, I think we're already doing something. And if you understand well our constitution, then public participation is already happening. We're already here on air talking about these issues. It means if our voices were not meaningful, the government will not be afraid of us.
But the government appears to be having its way in everything.
You see, Fred, we might be losing the battle, but the war is ours to win.
But you do accept that there's a battle that has been lost?
Definitely, Fred, because these are people who have been in power for more than 40 years. They understand the mastery of divide and conquer, Fred. But it is something that almost certain that all the issues about us young people, we are still speaking about them. We may not be let me say, physically appear as if we are winning the battle. But I assure you, Fred, the war is literally on our side. Mm-hmm. Because, Fred, I'm sure you saw what happened in Roysambu last Sunday. If you are literally losing the war, then, Fred,
the president, that same day that there was the young people went to the church on Thika Road, the same day the president was in another church in Gishu and gave another 20 million shillings. The same question, Ken. Mutadu?
Let me tell you, Fred, it's not about the size of the dog, but it's about the war, the amount of war within the dog and how much the dog is willing to endure the fight. This is, you see, what we are dealing with is a war that our fathers did not fight. Our great-grandfathers did not fight. We are dealing with an issue that our fathers could not face Moi and address, an issue that our elder brothers could not face Kibaki and address. And that's why it appears like we are losing. We are not losing anything. We are taking the regime and everybody who is not pro-people head-on. And it's a process. It's not an event that will happen one day. It is a process. And this thing, the day of reckoning, will be on 10th August 2027. Because this is not a war that we are fighting physically, that we want to engage every time. We are doing this, we are doing what we are doing, and what we did on Sunday, and I said it here, that we will go there, and we went there, and they arrested 28 young people, thinking that was an intimidation. they were released immediately.
The president called you bluff because if at all he had felt anything, he would have not
you
donated
see,
another 20 million.
But you see, we know the kind of a man we are dealing with. You see, the president is one person, and I said it, and I keep telling that, wants to lead this country with an iron fist, to an extent that you cannot, what you are saying that should not be done is what he's doing. And that's why people have made peace by the fact that this guy must be a one-term president, because he's not listening. You see, if you look at those rallies that President William is doing, even the tours that he's doing in Nairobi, those youths are not going there because they want to listen to the man. They are going there because they have nothing in their pocket, and they want to get that 200, that 500 shillings that will be given either before or after, because it is sure, they are sure that they will get it. You see, what happened in Madari? There's a clip that goes around where people were given 200 to attend those rallies. And then after that, what happened? Some thugs took over and they were robbing people. You see, the confidence in a thug to rob in daylight in a meeting that the president is in tells you that they identify that this is one of us. This is one of us. You cannot get confidence to start doing things. I mean, this regime has robbed young Kenyans.
He's definitely a Kenyan like them.
But let me just finish. This regime has managed to rob young Kenyans their rights and ensure that young people are unemployed to an extent that if I tell you that come to this meeting, I'll give you 50 shillings, you don't think twice because you do anyway. You don't have anything to eat next time.
Yet they're still in control, Barasa, because the president appears emboldened, especially now. He feels he is in a better position to do it. Because yes, during the Gen Z protest last year, he even dismantled his cabinet, sent everyone home. He even put a stop to public officers engaging in fundraising in churches. Right now, he feels emboldened to tell you, I will do it, and I'll do it again. Munaenda Thika Road, naenda kuongeza ingine Uasin Gishu. The youth did not react to any of that. The question is, going forward, Mutadu.
No, the question is not about Mutadu. I think that is a quite emotive question that you're putting out there. It might not actually, it's trivial actually.
But it's true.
It's because of these questions that the president just stamps and thinks that he is in control. The truth of the matter is a lot of things were actually changed because of the Gen Z protests last year. And more are actually starting to happen. Right now, I was looking at the 10-point program in the new handshake between the two bigwigs, and who are our grandfathers, so grandfather and Baba. You realize that most of these things that are in that document are actually pretentious. There is a public cry that they are trying to play too. For example, if I put the question, number one, they talk about the NADCO report, enforcing it, number one. Number two, the issue of inclusivity. Number three, devolution. Number four, the issue of empowerment of youths. Is it around number 6 where they talk about corruption, transparency, if I may get it right, or something like that? You realize that these are the same things that the Gen Z last year was actually strife about. These are the things that we're trying to prioritize in our demands. So the government, in one way, they might look the other side and stand akimbo like they're not answering to our call. But the truth of the matter is that they do understand these issues. Now, just to make it clear, government operates all over the world in terms of institutions, interests, and ideas. And they just have to play according to one of the three. So if at all the institutions do not work, this government, for example, has just made about, in this new 113 billion that you're talking about, the increase, has provided about 7.5 billion just to the police, to make sure the police is intact. One of the things that Roche Hedelsman, actually in his book, talking about the three things, institutions, ideas, and interests, was talking about, it makes it clear is that a government in panic starts by responding with these institutions. It tries to shield itself with the institutions around it. The police, why do you start to make the police so robust in this particular time of events? It's a charade. There's somewhere you start to realize that the government is in panic. Knee-jerk reactions in terms of expenditure and all these things.
Do you feel that the government has responded in any way, conclusively or consequentially, to some of the demands from Gen Zs last year? It would appear even some of the taxation measures that you fought against in the finance bill were reintroduced through other tax amendment bills, and the government moved on. Nothing really changed.
But I think what we have to make clear here, I think you're veering off the point. The Gen Z last year were just not impassioned about one thing, which was taxation. And if you just look at taxation alone, you might get misguided. The Gen Z, for example, we're talking about things like the flamboyant display by government officials.
But that is back.
If you look at the report, the handshake between Baba and Ruto, it is about number 7. This is something that they are trying to address. They
2 days
know.
later, 2 days later, after signing that MOU that had that, the president was in a church and donated 20 million
Yes,
shillings.
and I know even yesterday he knocked someone around Gong Road in that kind of flamboyant display of presidential parade. We do understand these things. But the truth of the matter is that de jure, the government is trying to implement these protocols that we talked about last year. De facto, things might actually change on ground, but the government is actually trying to listen.
Do you all agree that
they're not doing enough? They're not doing enough, but they are in panic, and that's why they're trying to address all these issues. That's why Baba, even where he sits in opposition, is actually trying to put these issues up front and try to make it clear that the Gen Z are actually standing for the things and they must attend them in the shortest time possible.
Just you went through the 10 points and you're saying all these things are already provided for in our laws and the institutions that are supposed to be doing this. Can that 10-point memorandum be in any way considered a proper government response to some of the issues we have raised? These are some of the talking points that we've been hearing through and through. Is there anything new there to say that a government is really responding to what the general public is demanding?
I suspect, the day they met in Mombasa, that was the real MOU. This one that was presented in KCC was just to show Kenyans that they are concerned. But the real thing that happened is this reshuffling of that is the real MOU, the content that was in the real MOU.
And that is, whatever they discussed in Mombasa is in no way a response to what Kenyans are demanding.
It's not part of the 10 agenda.
It's not part of the 10 agendas. And you can see this process of revolution that is coming, it is building up, and it is a process that will end in 2027 in the ballot. And you can realize, even last week, when was in Madare, that day, it was to hold a mega rally in Roysambu roundabout, but he ended the rally impromptu. That can tell you something. And it is not going to be as usual, business as usual. If he did that, and if you see, people are very tired and exhausted. If you see youth attacking the church, what they're asking is about that transparency and going against opulence. But the president is still arrogant. When you go to the church, religion seems to be like brainwashing people. And they listen more to the pastor, more than they are supposed to submit to God. So that's why when he donates money to the church, and that church alone in Roysambu, I think it has a good following. And there is also a conflict of land in between there. And if somebody is donating over 130 million to a church, that means that is not a donation, that is an investor trying to come in as a partner.
All right, but look at it this way. Even politicians, and not just the president, appear to have gone back to church. At the height of the Gen Z protests last year, the Gen Zs demanded that politicians leave the pulpit and that no politics should be conducted at the pulpit. And this is now across board, not just the government-allied MPs. Everyone seems to have gone back to church, and they're doing it blatantly. Everyone appears emboldened. And you may say they're panicking, but it would appear there's no fear anymore about the Gen Zs. Whatever they demanded for, that was last year. We're in 2025. Do you agree with Derek that we are seeing a response from the government to what the Gen Zs were demanding for last year?
There's definitely a response, Fred. You'd agree with me that mostly the donations were being made to the Catholic Church. But now when they sang a different tune and checked the government, you can see where the donations are going right now. Like, these are just people who are trying to, soften other people's hearts so that they can, please to teteni, tell your people that you're still doing the work. If they were really honest with supporting kazi ya Mungu, the same priests who call them out on their, lack of accountability, wangeenda waabudu na wao hiyo Sunday na bado wasupport kazi ya Mungu. But the people who are not calling them out, ndio mnapewa bahasha. Of course, however you would like to put it, there's change. They are swinging a different way, Fred.
I'm still not getting that change. I'm still not getting that response because Derek says we're seeing. Yes.
Let me just. So the thing is this. Last year, after the Gen Z protests, the first thing that the government did was he sacked his entire government, save for the DP and there.
And returned 6 of them.
No, but that was a knee-jerk reaction. You must admit, the government has shown crevices of panic before, that it actually has a soft spot for pressure. And that's the same thing that is actually happening right now. Like Fred was saying, in Mombasa, just after the AUs, where they had come from Dubai, an extravagant expenditure in Dubai, after all, or Kenyan taxpayers' money, what they actually did was power sharing. We do understand that in the nature of Kenyan political fabric, that they were power sharing and all those things. But what is given to us in the limelight here at KICC, what happened there was something to cool us down. Because they know that we
pacify.
Yes, they do know that there is a pressure boiling down there, a teapot tempest. And if they do not act by giving us at least a quasi-document, like the agreement that they made there, we are not going to cool down. The government actually knows that if they do not react by giving promises, even like the chapati that we are seeing, which are laughable, you might say, something bad might actually happen in this country. Yeah? Kenyan youths, let's just make it clear, and I'm glad to sit here with youth leaders of this country. Kenyan youths, in particular, are known all over the world, for being constitutionally apt. They are updated about what's happening in their country. We've used our ICT well, we've used all these things well. And right now, the government is actually panicking because of the benefits of the same things that they were providing. This government, under Kibaki, tried so much to foster ICT. Today, what we see is that if I do want to mobilize people around Mathare or around Kamukunji, like we saw, or Kisii, for example, the best example, I just have to sit down on my phone and do this and that. The government knows that. And you know what they've done? They've cut down that expenditure by about, is it 50 billion? 50% rather? No, 7 billion. Let me just get the numbers clear. Maybe you can check that.
Because I can see here there's a police officer spent 6 billion on travel.
The ICT part, there's about a 7 billion cut on ICT. The government knows that right now, Kenya is basking in the benefits of a post-development era, whereby ICT is being used against the government, and the government is reacting with knee-jerk reactions. Let's just cut this down. Let me tell you, we've seen in many banana republics around the continent, internet has been shut down. Yes, we've seen that in Kenya before. And these are things that are going to happen again. Why? Because the government is in panic. And I can tell you more things are going to happen. Kidnappings have just happened. Why? Because the government is in panic. I can tell you, if we go, there's a lot of robust measures that have been made by the government because they're just in panic.
I do agree that, yes, the government has reacted, but responding to the needs the demands that were made last year, in a way, yes, I do agree that the government has reacted and ensured they pacify the masses. But in as far as response is concerned, are you confident that this government is responding?
Fred, first of all, we have to give credit to the young people. The people who are failing us is partly people from your generation and the older generation. We have to give credit to the young people because as we are busy fighting our war, you guys are very busy signing deals. Going behind,
but anyway.
going behind our backs, Fred, because you are making our war seem as if it's useless. And we are all living in this country. This country is not just a country of young people. We have country of our parents. We have country of our grandparents. So if we come together as a country, Fred, we are going to win this war. Remember,
have you felt like as if the war so far has been consequential?
Yes, Fred, because I agree with my panelist. If the young people, just imagine, if the young people have caused this commotion, that we've seen Ruto shuffling his government, we've seen Ruto forming a broad-based government, we've seen Ruto going ahead even to impeach him, his running mate, then it definitely tells you that the young people are on track. Now, it's upon us to now convince the people of your generation and the people of our father's generation to come on our side, because we've talked about the church. I don't want to go in between the tuffle of whether it's Catholic or Protestants are wrong in the side of the war. But definitely something's amiss in our churches. Definitely we must have a conversation in our churches. Definitely, Fred, that we must convince our parents that this country is not ours alone. They are part and parcel of this country. When come 2027, on 10th of August, we will all be on the ballot. Remember, largely of our families or where we come from, we are still Africans. And largely, it's our parents who try and reconvince us that this is not the right way to go. Largely, we remember that when President Ruto came on the rooftop, he told our parents to teach us manners. Fred, he's on record. Fred, so it's upon us again, and upon people of your generation again, Fred, I repeat, to also come on the table. Because we are busy fighting this war. I don't know what you guys are busy doing.
We're asking some questions.
Let me just speak for you. I think. Let me just say something. I think he is attacking the wrong recipient. Fred seems a really young man. He looks.
I'm definitely from a different generation from you, but.
But you know. Let me just add more weight to what my brother said. It's true that as the young people are busy fighting to put things to order, the generation that has been comfortable with the status quo is busy proceeding with their businesses. And that's why we are saying that it is our responsibility as young people to keep this government at check and ensure that we deal with them decisively, without any mercy. And that's why we've identified one of our key problem, causa, or the source of problem, and we are committed that we are going to deal with that person decisively, because if he's out of space, many of his associates will be out of space. Let me say that I think if you look at how the president was so much energetic to de-whip those MPs and senators who are not in support of the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, and they sided with Rigathi Gachagua, he used a lot of resources and time to ensure that these guys are de-whipped and made useless and no chair and no committee. I think that same energy, it is the responsibility of the president to use that same energy he used that time to campaign for Raila and de-whip all these guys because they did not support the impeachment of Gachagua. He needs to use that same energy to create employment opportunities for young people of this country, if he wants peace. Number two, if he's serious that he's going to contest for 2027, because from where I sit, he's not serious about contesting. He has made peace with the fact that he's going home. If he's serious about it, he needs to use that same energy to sort out the issues that we're talking about. He must address the issue of health interns. He must address the issues of insecurity. He must tell us why those young people are shot and the police officers who took part in those processes have not been jailed. He need to explain to us why is it that people with serious corruption cases are lined up to be appointed at PSS and CSS in the coming reshuffle. And we are going to, you see, that is a mud in the face. So if we are going to see also the list of people we know, that these are people with serious issues. We saw the list of IBC chairperson, those who applied. There are characters there with serious court cases that has not been sorted, and they are still being paraded as potential candidates for IBC chairperson. Those are the things that we're looking at. If the president is serious that he wants to run for an election in 2027, he must address those issues.
All right.
Finally, on this issue, I want to say that elements of governance are so simple. We just need accountability, transparency, and honesty. This Kenya Kwanza regime must take a responsibility that they are in power right now. President Ruto is the president. In as much as we don't agree with the way he's running this country, he still sits as the head of state and is making critical decisions. He must do them with a lot of honesty. Okay. He must ensure that he is transparent enough with the country. And he must ensure that in anything he does, he can be accountable to it. And when Kenyans are coming out to ask questions, he should not respond by fight. Okay. Because if we decide that everybody's going to fight, then we shall end up without a country.
Okay. We have about 9 minutes or so I'll give each one of you about 1.5 minutes for your rallying call and your final comments. Kama utaita watu wakuje kwa chama yako, sawa. Kama utaambia hiyo generation ingine wafanye kazi better, sawa. Let's start. You want to go first?
Yeah, let me go first. Okay. Let me go first. I have longed for this moment. Let me make it clear to the general public, the people of Kenya. I am a medical doctor, and I can tell you some things are happening within the health service population. On Tuesday, we have made a clarion call to this government to respect the health service population and the work that they give to the population out there. It is so hard to stand within the structures of hospitals and health systems in this country and try so much to do your diligent role as a citizen to provide health care to people. However, SHA is failing. If you look at Nairobi County right now, about 300 doctors have gone on strike. Why? Because of their working conditions. The medical interns are actually crying about their salary, not a stipend, as many people in parliament try to call it out. All these things are happening within the health service, among many other things. Up to when is this government going to understand that the target of the Abuja declaration, that one doctor must see 1,000 patients, should be met as soon as possible? And I think it's misplaced priorities to say that you are trying to spend more on public administration, on military, and you're forgetting about the main concerns that affect the people down here. On Tuesday, and I have been leading with my fellow colleagues out there about the disparities, the issues that happen in the health sector. We are going to meet again, and we've made it clear to this government that if the concerns, these pertinent key issues that affect everyone in this country, are not met, we are going to meet, and there's going to be a total shutdown. This message has been made by the KMPDU, the union. Us young people who are active within the health service have also made this clear that we are not going to relent until all these things are addressed one by one and in contentious means. We just do not want to see lip service. I saw the health CS yesterday try to make very laughable comments about what they're trying to do one by one. But I actually believe that within the ministry itself, the CS has actually realized that she is now a target of the same system that she created against herself. I would make one thing clear. CS Baraza, my name. Unajua tunatoka pali same area, unajua hizi hata jina ni moja na nini. Let's just make it clear. The only way that you can save yourself from the health, all the issues, all the discrepancies that happen within your system, is to get more people by your side. And one way that you can do that is to solidify, consolidate the masses that you have within the population in the health service. Tengeneza the working conditions of the people in Nairobi, particularly in the health sector. Provide that money. Hii pesa ni kidogo sana. Yani 8 billion to State House. And interns are crying for, is it 2 billion? Why would you make it so hard? Who is that person in government that CS Baraza is trying so much to try and make them have a good breakfast day, instead of just doing the real things that are very simple? CS Baraza has been a medical practitioner, has been a medical intern. I do believe at one time. She has been a postgraduate student. She has worked in all these systems, and she knows how hard it is. Let her just do the easy doable and provide these things.
Okay. And in the meantime, you're ready for Tuesday.
Yeah, very much.
Very ready for Tuesday. Mukwago, you have 1 minute.
My final submission is that the time for empty promises is over. Now, as youth, you are focused on real issues that address the real problem that are affecting the Kenyan people. And we will push for changes in terms of policies that will create employment. And we will also push for inclusivity in the government. And we should make sure we are included in the decision making. And if they won't listen, we will now go to the ballot and ensure we elect the leader that will serve our own interest and serve legitimately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Miriam, go next.
I think my parting shot would be with our government, let our priorities be right. We have no business funding things that don't really impact the general public. It's a shame that out of the marriage between the two parties, the first thing that you did was promise very ridiculous things like chapatis. We are looking to get the things that you promised before you got into office. Give us the Wi-Fi, streamline the SHA, disburse these help funds. Let's see meaningful things happening in our economy.
All right, thank you. Kuna party leaders pale.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Fred. And of course, I appreciate the fact that TV47 finds it relevant enough that you have young people on this platform to engage. Mine is to President William Ruto. And I want to talk to the president briefly as a young person and a voice of young people in this country. And just to tell him that many young Kenyans are not expecting much from him. We are just expecting 3 issues. This country needs to be governed in line with the elements of governance: accountability, transparency, and honesty. And I want to tell President Ruto that many of those young people he sees attending his rallies and tours, they are attending out of hopelessness and desperation. They are not attending because that is the only thing they want to do. They lack what to do. And it is so unfortunate that a president can do a rally on a Monday morning and it is full with young people, that's a clear indication that the level of unemployment and unemployment of young people is so high. And the president needs to take that as a sign and take action to it. I want to tell President that if today he walks into immigration offices, he will be surprised that the majority of people who are looking forward to move out of this country are the young people, because of the level of hopelessness, desperation, and depression coming up due to issues of unemployment and the rate at which this government is mismanaging the country, this country. I want to tell President William Ruto that the young people are not fighting him. Young people are fighting the way in which he is running this country, because he is not the first president to appear in this country. We've had presidents before, he is the 5th. And out of the 4 presidents, there were young people that time. And if you look at the history, none of those presidents was opposed critically by young people the way this government is being opposed. So he should sit down and look into what he's doing wrong and get proper advising and do the right thing. Finally, I would like to tell the president that he's a church guy. He has a history of being a church boy all while until now. He needs to take, and having been a chairman of the CEU, I will employ the president to go back and have a sit down, maybe with the pastors, including Bishop Mwai, and take a look at the book of Luke 7:22, and read through the story of John and Jesus and the disciples. When John sent the disciples to go and ask Jesus, "Are you the one, or we should expect someone else?" And Jesus told the disciples to tell John that, "Go. Are you seeing? Go and tell him. Is he seeing the cripples walking, the dead are rising, and the blind are seeing? Those are the signs." Okay. If today we ask President Ruto, "Are you really the one that we've been waiting for since the time of Kenyatta?" What is he going to say? He should not explain. He should just tell us, "Go and look at SHA, go and look at health, go and look at new funding model, go and look at education, go and look at security, and then we shall decide as a people." Thank you.
Finally, Nick, you have about a minute.
You know, I'm worried that Ken is turning this into a crusade. You might confuse the panel, but anyway, I think it's also, let's remind the Kenyans, young Kenyans, that please register as a voter, because that is where it really matters the most. That is what is very important in this country for us as young people. Number 2, I know even most of my panelists, apart from Babu here, they're not in political parties. This is the time to woo them. Join Kenya Hadi Party. Because we are saying that we are tired of the old folks. Okay. Same monkeys, same forest. Kenya Hadi Party has no new, it's just new people.
Okay.
And to register in Kenya Hadi Party is *509#.
All right.
Yes. Thank you so much. Finally.
I don't have a minute, probably.
Finally, Fred.
Yes.
Wakenya msilale, lale lale, Wakenya msilale, bado mapambano, mapambano, bado mapambano.
There's no way you can go back to any other discussion.
Discuss me to my 30 seconds. Thank you so much for this one more opportunity. I want to look straight in the camera and just say this. So March 18th, we have, as a medical fraternity all across the country, have decided to make it clear that we are going to stand up and agitate one more time. We are going to cause a total public shutdown. But it's going to be a peaceful one. The general public should not be in dismay or anything. We have contacted members of the police and intelligence and informed them that we are going to meet at a particular place. So they should not worry about anything. This is just a clarion call to government. It's just a civic responsibility. It's just what any other national out there would do in case they're agitated. And we ask the general public to stand with us, members of the political society, members of civil society, to stand with us so that we activate those pertinent clauses for healthcare and save what is actually an ailing system in the healthcare system of this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Derek Barasa, Opposition Youth Leader, Nick Mwangi, Secretary General of the Kenya Hadi Party, CAP, Ken Babu, National Youth Chairman, Democratic Action Party of Kenya, DAPK, Miriam Katheo, Youth Advocate, and Fred Mukua, ESC Youth MP. Our panelists this morning on the youth perspective. Just what are the young people thinking about what's happening in our country? Of course, conversations about Shafashi making big headlines and the budget-making process as well. After the break, remember it is a Feel Good Friday right here on Morning Cafe. DJ Granite is already in the house. Do expect some lovely music. My name is Freddie Ndimudi. Have a lovely weekend.